My neighbor's doorbell camera caught my husband's double life. Now the entire neighborhood knows. Have you ever discovered something so shocking about someone you love that it makes you question your entire reality? 6 months ago, I was living what I thought was a perfectly normal suburban life. My husband Mark and I had been married for 8 years with a beautiful home in a friendly neighborhood where we'd lived for the past 3 years. Mark worked as a sales executive, which required him to travel 3 days a week. The schedule was tough, but we made it work. Or so I thought. One Tuesday afternoon, I was chatting with my neighbor Sarah while our kids played in her yard. She seemed uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact and changing the subject whenever I mentioned Mark. Is everything okay? I finally asked. She hesitated. Lisa, I don't know how to tell you this, but I think here is something you should see. Sarah pulled out her phone and opened her doorbell camera app last Friday around 2 p.m. You mentioned Mark was in Chicago, right? I nodded, a knot forming in my stomach. She played the video. There was Mark walking up our driveway in the middle of the afternoon when he was supposedly 300 miles away. But he wasn't alone. A woman I'd never seen before was with him, laughing as he fumbled with his keys. They kissed before entering our home. My home, where they stayed for 3 hours before leaving together. I didn't know what to do, Sarah whispered. Then yesterday, Ellen from across the street mentioned she'd seen the same thing multiple Fridays. We realized this has been happening for months. My world collapsed. Not only was Mark cheating, but he'd been doing it in our home in our neighborhood, where everyone could see, and apparently everyone had seen except me. I thanked Sarah, somehow maintaining my composure until I got home. Then I did something I'd never done before. I checked Mark's location history on our shared Google account. Sure enough, every Friday for the past 6 months, his phone had been at our house, not in Chicago, Boston, or wherever he claimed to be. When Mark returned Sunday night with his usual exhausted from travel routine, I said nothing. Instead, I spent the week gathering evidence. I checked credit card statements and found hotel charges in our own city on his travel days. I found receipts for dinners for 2 at local restaurants. I even discovered a second phone hidden in his golf bag by Friday. I had a plan. I told Mark I was visiting my sister for the weekend and watched him practically push me out the door. Then I parked down the street and waited. Sure enough, at 2 p.m., Mark's car pulled up with the mystery woman. I gave them 30 minutes before I called every neighbor on our street and asked them to turn on their doorbell cameras. Then I walked up to my own front door and rang the bell. Mark answered in his boxers, his face draining of color when he saw me. Behind him, I could see wine glasses and scattered clothing. Surprise, I said calmly. Manhood meeting out loud. Now confused and panicking, he quickly dressed and followed me outside, where he found himself facing a semicircle of neighbors, all standing silently in our front yard. Mark, I announced loudly, since you've been conducting your affair in front of our entire neighborhood for months, I thought it was only fair they witnessed the end of it too. I handed him pre-signed divorce papers and the suitcase I'd packed with his essentials. Your girlfriend can have you, but she'll have to take you somewhere else. This house is mine. It's in my name. Since your credit was too poor to qualify for the mortgage. The woman slipped out the side door and drove away while Mark stood there, papers in hand, facing the silent judgment of 12 neighbors with their arms crossed. That was 6 months ago. The divorce was finalized last week. Mark moved to another city with his girlfriend, who I later discovered thought he was divorced when they met. She left him when she learned the truth. The strangest part, my neighborhood has become my strongest support system. The same people who witnessed my humiliation now bring me dinner, invite me to gatherings, and have become true friends. Sometimes it takes your whole world falling apart to show you who's really there to help you rebuild it. And sometimes the most painful revelations happen in the most public ways, but maybe that's exactly what you need to find your strength.